Hello everyone, it's B3 here with day 3 of it's RangerStop and Pop 2021. It's kind of a crappy con name. What do you think, Naughty? She says, I think it's a little weird that you're recording this at home after the con. Yeah, well, I got plenty of footage from the con, don't worry. In fact, more than usual, you know. I decided to wear my cosplay a second day because everyone liked it so much. Well, everyone liked the blaster so much, including David Yost, so I wore it again. And you will see all the con footage in a sec, but when we walked in, we walked by the elevator. And he was in the elevator, it was closing, he was about to go up because we were on the bottom floor. And Kami and Kieran were like, did you see that? And I was like, see what? And they said, oh, David Yost, your boy, was in the elevator. And then, like, we turn the corner and we hear, hey, wait up! And David Yost, the original Mighty Morphin Blue Ranger, that's right, he stopped his elevator and came out to talk to me. My hero, David Yost. If you watch the other 2 vlogs, you know how much this man means to me. You know how much this man means to me. And he said, oh, hey, I lost the little sticky note that I wrote your Instagram down on. Can you give it to me again? And I was like, whoa. Not only would most celebs not even ask for my Instagram, but if they lost the note, they would have just probably been like, whatever. But he really wanted to post a picture of my blaster. And so he was like, come up to my table and give it to me again. I got to get back to the table real quick. So that's why... That's why there's not terribly much footage of the first panel, because the first panel we went to see was the first one of the day. It was called Ranger Fit. It was the Dino Charge Red and Blue Rangers. Blue wasn't even supposed to be there. He came out of nowhere. And they were talking about, like, fitness. I was a little disappointed. I kind of thought it would be more of a behind-the-scenes, specifically what they did for Power Rangers to get fit for stunts and choreography and etc. But it was more just general. It was kind of just a general fitness Q&A, and that kind of bored me. But I had to leave in the middle of it anyways to go see my boy, David Yost, which was really cool. And then I went up to see him, you know. He posted my thing. You know, he's such a cool, sweet guy. And not only did he post a picture of my blaster on his story. By the way, the making of this blaster is on Patreon, and so will, or is about to be once I'm finished editing that video. It's a lot of footage, as you can imagine, but the making of, like, all this is going to be on Patreon. So yeah, he was so nice. He posted that on his story, and he posted the picture of me and him from the photo op with me and my cosplay on his story. And I was like, wow. And then he liked all my Blue Ranger pics and commented on them as well. I was like, wow. When I told him how he helped me come out and stuff, it must have, like, really touched him. And, like, he's a really good guy. He's a really good guy, and he deserves the best. Absolutely, he deserves the best. Wow. So yeah, now I'm gonna let you guys go into the Ranger Fit panel footage, but there is a treat. I recorded a full panel today, and it's in the video, and I'm not gonna tell you what panel it is right now, but hopefully you'll see it and love it.
So inject it instead. No. Okay, Yoshi's not certified. Don't listen to him. So I've done different fitness panels in the past where I actually had people sign waivers to work out. Because of COVID and everything, I didn't feel like this was the one to do that per se. So this is an informational kind of Q&A. If you have questions for Yoshi, ask him directly, make him uncomfortable. Yeah. And if you have questions like about fitness in general, so like I went to school, I have a degree in kinesiology. I'm a certified exercise physiologist, yoga instructor, sports nutritionist, strength and conditioning specialist through NSCA, and some other training stuff. So anyway, I
can teach you math, but that's it.
And I am bad at math, so yeah. 2 + 2 is 5, right?
Wait, it is if you say it is.
They're like, the 6th Ranger. I'm like, no, Dobbies are 7th Ranger. Like, whatever. But Yeah, so if you guys have questions, I mean, I don't think we need a mic or anything. Like, you can just like project. But I really
Raise your hand and we'll call in.
Or that. Yeah. So I basically
class.
keep it about fitness overall. Unless it's embarrassing, then ask Yoshi anyway. And, but
I shower every day.
I mean, most days. So.
That was the question.
No, that's okay. In the back. You, not that far in the back. In the back of those raising their hands.
Yeah. Okay. No, I actually have managed to, in the past 2 years, drop 30 pounds.
Congratulations!
I unfortunately am getting to that really annoying part. It's almost like the flower of Algernon syndrome, where I'm starting to see it slowly creep back up. What I'm doing isn't working anymore. And as sad as it is, I have one goal. I cosplay from time to time, and I'd rather not dress up as Power Ranger the later years.
There's nothing wrong with the later years.
I know there isn't, but I want to do it right.
Sure.
So basically, any tips on losing the gut? That's the only part of my body I'm not happy with.
Yeah, great question, and also great progress, by the way. So a thing with fitness, a lot of people think like, I want to lose weight around my midsection or my arms or like a specific body part. Genetically, you can't choose where you lose the weight from, even if you work that area out. That's called spot reduction, and that's not real, it's a myth. So basically, you have to lose weight in general, and your body will choose genetically predetermine where it comes from. And there's scientific reasons why, but typically the abdominal section is one of those areas we lose weight last, unfortunately. But I mean, as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. Like law of thermodynamics, you can't not lose weight if you're in a calorie deficit. And if you think you're in a calorie deficit and you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. So there's some hidden calories from something like, oh, I tracked my calories, blah, blah, blah. Those are all estimates. Maybe the ketchup packet you used from this store is higher than that store, or whatever. There's always something that has hidden, that the labels can be misleading. Or if you're eating like a bag of chips, it's 100 calories, but it says 2 servings, you didn't realize it's actually 200 calories. So typically 1 to 2 pounds a week is like a sustainable, healthy amount that most exercise societies say to like aim for. A pound is roughly 3,500 calories, which is 500 a day if you're making a deficit. 500 times 7, math guy.
3,500.
3,500, yeah. Anyway, it's a pound, that's what I'm saying. So if you make a deficit of 500 a day, whether from exercise or diet, you'll lose about a pound a week. Now that's not 100% accurate because depending on if it's protein, carbohydrates, or fat sources, they do burn at different rates in your body. But as a rough estimate, it's something to start basing off of, if that makes sense. Yeah. So calorie deficit, keep at it. You could also diet. Some people they try to go really hard, consistently, and then they burn out and get fatigued, and then they end up eating a bunch and they just fall off the bandwagon. I'm more a fan of if you, let's say you diet, and I don't mean you need to follow a specific diet, just you're watching what you eat or whatever, for a month, and then you take 2 weeks of maintenance, and then you go back to losing for a month, and then 2 weeks of maintenance, versus trying to trajectory down the entire time, because you're probably gonna end up quitting at some point. But if you do even if you do 2 weeks on, 1 week off, 2 weeks on, 1 week off, you're more likely to stick to it. Because it's a lifestyle thing. It's not just I'm gonna follow this diet for 30 days, and then after the next 30 days, I'm gonna go back to what I ate. Well, then you're gonna gain the weight back. And then you'll lose the weight for that particular 30 days. If you have a photo shoot or something, a lot of actors, again, we have specific roles we need to look a certain way for, but it's not sustainable, unless you make it a lifestyle. Yeah. Other questions? Yes?
When you was
both core exercises, immediately, the next day, my hernia is hey.
Have you gotten surgery for it yet?
The insurances all say that it would be kind of more, yes, it's an unnecessary surgery.
Well,
not
how much core exercise are you doing? I'm not gonna lie to you.
No.
I barely do any.
Well,
Because the rest of your body when you're doing other workouts, it ends up, even walking, if you walk up upright, that is a core exercise.
Your core stabilizes you. It's not just your abs.
Yeah.
The thing was, is I talked to my doctors and stuff like that, and to be hey, can you guys help me out because,
Yeah.
and I know the ladies and those, if you had a C-section, any muscle mass you had, or menstrual development you had is gone, thanks to C-sections. But I was just wondering, is there another, other than I'm starting to do walking again, I'm starting to do stuff like that, it's just...
My understanding with hernias, it needs to be surgically fixed. So I would make more of a point with your insurance company because you can't train to fix it like without.
Yeah, and most of the days it becomes the whole thing of if I do a lot of core exercises and try to, it's like immediately the next day I'm like, okay, we're not gonna really do anything.
I think that's a surgery thing. You can't heal it just by like willpower. I wish I could say otherwise, but yeah, as far as I know, that's out of my scope because I obviously don't do surgery.
Right.
So I would double check with that. But great question.
And I think with like core exercise, this is just in the general thing, core exercises. There's a lot of emphasis, especially with like social media, with everybody like, you want to get these abs, do these workouts, right? Like, well, you're not going to get those abs by just doing that workout.
No.
It's again going back to the
Body.
dietary, you know, because your core can only take so much. Doing a lot of like abs too, you like pull a lot of the muscle back here, so you better be doing your back as well.
Don't just train your rear muscles, but just the front half of you. You want to train the back half, because a lot of people, when they're older, they're like this, because A, they're sitting a lot, which strengthens your body to sit, which is why people are like this, and we're all on our phones. You don't want that for your spine. You want to pull your shoulders back. You want to train the back. I'd say like 1.5 to 2 times as much as you train the front, because our life just has us like this, for good posture and everything.
I don't know, I walk like this.
I know, I see it. Yeah.
You.
Hey guys, what's happening? So I'm sorry to report that I ate Jason Darby for lunch.
Again?
Yeah. So, thanks for coming. My gosh, I was convinced that nobody was going to be here because everybody was going to be too busy lining up for Jason Frank. Oh wait. You guys having fun?
Yeah!
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So hey,
I feel lonely.
so the title of this panel is a little bit misleading because when I was on the phone with my friend Karen and she was talking about a panel with Jason, I was like, I hate that guy. We're in a huge fight and I don't really want to do a panel with him. And so they named it, the book was called Combat Academy because apparently we're fighting in the boardroom.
We're fighting.
Plus, after we discussed it, we figured there's probably enough conflict in the world. We don't need to rehash any conflict. So we're just going to talk about loving.
Everybody gets up and loves them.
Exactly.
Burning things as they
This
leave.
panel sucks. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I got a microphone. Since we're in the same room together, what's the point of it?
Well, they can hear our thoughts if we're like,
Okay, right there is where I'm going to try. All I hear is wind. Hey,
yo,
how do you feel about seabirds?
seabirds.
Yeah, you gotta live your life with no egrets. I know. You're a dad, you should appreciate that joke.
Okay, so here's my new favorite one. Okay.
All right.
So I tell the deodorant. Okay. Okay. So it's this one is called the Swedish Chemist Shop, and a man walks into the chemist shop and he says, "Good morning, I would like to buy some deodorant." And the man behind the counter says, "Ball or aerosol?" And the man says, "Neither. It's for my armpit."
There are children in the room, and they will figure out what you just said.
At some point, everyone uses deodorant, Paul.
Do you hear the gears turning over here? They're like, all right, I'm putting it together. Ding, ding, ding. Oh. Scarred for life, suddenly.
Don't use the deodorant in that place. Meaning Sweden.
Hey,
It's cold there. Nobody needs deodorant.
Nobody needs it.
Sweden.
And the Swedish people, they don't have sweat glands. They don't need them. It makes them less attractive. You know, you can't call them the Swedish chef anymore. That's because I mean that is a
Why is
diss
it?
on
Is it
the
like?
Swedish people.
Is it not politically correct?
That is correct. People in Sweden don't cook.
Well, they don't have to cook because everything is smoked. So you guys, you know, Jason and I have known each other for 8,000 years. to share with you some of the, frankly, the difficult trials and tribulations of being Bulk and Skull. We're going to bring you to the inside of the experience. First day. Gentlemen, welcome to the TV show you're lucky enough to be cast on. Here's your dressing room. Dressing room.
This is Paul and I for about 8 seasons.
I was like, we don't get our own rooms? And they're like, oh no, you guys are a pair, so it should be fine, right? So we're basically in a closet. Amy Jo's got a palatial suite.
And she's about this big, so she doesn't need
She's got, and then, I'm not kidding, she got 2 couches, like an easy chair, a vanity, and believe me, she needs that. And we had like 1 chair and a light bulb hanging from the ceiling.
I'm not kidding you. Like if we would take naps, which we would do often, one of us could get the couch, the other got the floor.
Yep.
And the person on the floor was right up against the wall.
Yep. It's so true. It basically was like a chair closet that they gave us.
It was so bad that Amy Jo actually took pity on us and was like, "You guys want my dressing room?" We're like,
She did.
Yes, we
She
did.
did.
But I'm not kidding. To this day, when we do cons, first question out of their mouth is, "So you and Paul are going to do it? Great. Will that be 1 room or 2?"
They always ask us that.
It's the same damn hotel room. You gotta keep laughing.
I mean, have you ever seen 2 straight men try to change clothes in the same room? Like, all right, go to your corners. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. And to answer the elephant in the room, boxers, briefs. And really ugly boxers too, like old Polish man tablecloth boxers. It's like an Irish boxer.
My mom was an old Polish man.
Your mom is awesome.
My poor mom's taken so much abuse this week.
That is true. So
Normally it happens during the week.
Jason's mom's name is Lenore. Yeah. So she doesn't like the Eeyore Lenore jokes. So hey, you guys, being Bulk and Skull, we felt so lucky to have gotten a job acting, right? Because there's so many. How many actors are in the room today? Any actors here? So we aspire to be performers, right? Because we want to share comedy or drama with the world. And certainly we were grateful.
Yeah, we were grateful.
But,
there's a limit.
When they make you change clothes in the back of a van when you're on location, you start feeling like, maybe I'm not on the show that I thought I was going to.
Let's get more specific. Change clothes in a van in the winter after you got out of the lake.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, don't pity us. You laughed when it happened. You laughed when you saw it on TV.
So do you guys remember that Power Rangers episode where Bulk and Skull were all muddy and we're kind of like swimming in the lake?
Yeah.
So that was Kenneth Hahn Park outside of here within Los Angeles. And it was winter. Call time 4:30 a.m. Yeah, because you got to do makeup. I'm like, we're going in a lake and getting covered in mud. Why do we need makeup? They're like, well, it has to match with the previous scene. I'm like, okay. So like, okay, there's your wetsuits. And we're like, what? So there's a little tiny normal man-sized wetsuit for Jason. And then apparently they had to have a wetsuit for me custom made by somebody. Now wetsuits are gauged by millimeters of neoprene, right? So the thicker it is, the deeper you could go in the ocean and the more cold you could withstand. So Narvi had like a spring suit on, which was like nothing. And mine was a 5 mil suit. Now the problem, how do you guys feel about sausages? Okay, because and we had to first I had to squeeze myself into the wetsuit and then put my costume on. Now, if you look at the episode, I think in the bloopers, maybe in the end credits, if I were to relax, the suit would automatically go right back to its muscle memory position. Boom. And bending my limbs was like, and then if I relaxed, it would go boom. It's hilarious.
Well, and of course, the whole thing of us wearing the suit was ridiculous because the whole point of a wetsuit is that it allows a layer of wetness to get in traps it and eventually warms it up with your body heat. So when you're just jumping in and jumping out, it never warms up. It keeps the cold water close to your skin. Yeah.
It was freezing.
Yeah.
You know, you know from watching the show that Vulcan School have a lot of costumes, right? Tons of, you know, what are we? Are we Italian chefs? Are we bunny rabbits? Are we cops or monkeys or whatever, right? Now, the problem with television is that the schedules are so compressed that every department is kind of behind the ball, like they're behind in the game. They're constantly trying to play catch up. Now, for the Rangers, it was pretty easy. You just go in the rainbow clothing room and pick whatever Red Ranger shirt he's going to wear today. But Vulcan Skull had sometimes really elaborate costumes, like monsters, or like I had a big tail, or you're a beautiful princess.
Thank you, Paul.
Well,
It's wonderful to hear on a Sunday.
you are the best bait ever. But the problem with our wardrobe department is that they were a little too far behind. And occasionally, the costumes weren't done. And you know what that means if you live with a seamstress or a seamster, is you find a pin in your armpit or in your nether regions. And you know, Vulcan Skull are constantly running and jumping and falling, and this is seriously, every week it would be, you know, I'm waiting for myself to get stabbed by the pin that inevitably I know is going to be multiple pins sometimes. So that starts kind of a negative relationship with the wardrobe department. You know, we kind of say, are you going to torture me today? And they're like, well, you know, we're doing our best. You know, here's your corn on the cob outfit. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's kids here. I was not going to follow that one up with it. Okay.
The great Aztec people and their mascot, corn on the cob man.
Well, should we field some questions?
I don't know. I'd rather keep complaining about my life. You know, people always ask us about pranks on Power Rangers, and the fact is there was a lot of pranks on set.
There's more pranks than anything else.
Well, because we're supporting characters. You know how we come in. We come in, we say three things. In the middle of the episode, we come in, we get something splashed on us, and then we show up at the end for the right?
Oh, that Vulcan Skull, always losing a limb.
Yep. And so, in the interim, there's, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours of us just sitting in the room listening to Jesus Christ Superstar on a record player over and over and over. My mind is clearer now. So that's where all the pranks came. It's because we were just bored.
Yeah, and so they would also go through phases. Like 1 month it would be the entire
Swords.
Yes, right, swords. Another month it'd be like
Fire.
There was the month of random dead arms.
Yes.
You remember that one?
Yes.
Where we're like, and what we would do is we would start like you walk onto the set, dead arm, and then 5 minutes later you roll, like, oh, I'm starting to get it out, and so they would slowly get closer and closer and closer to the point where we're actually rolling the camera, till it was literally like, okay, and roll cameras, speed, Power Ranger scene 402, take 2, ready, set, and bam, 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 action! I'm not kidding you. Once I'm sitting there, I'm standing there, okay? Cameras are rolling, and suddenly this shadow just passes over me like a 747. And I look up just in time to see Paulie, full flight. Oh, he's waking up. Oh, action. Yeah, scarfing time. Cut. You
So you know, years after we finished the show, Narvi would call me up occasionally, and he would say, "I had the dream again." And tell him about the dream, Jason.
So the dream was a nightmare. It was complete PTSD. Paul Trauma Syndrome dream. I would have this reoccurring nightmare that while we were sleeping in the dressing room, Paul would be he'd be the one on the couch, I'd be on the floor, and then Paul would roll over on me. And of course, it's also because while we're filming half the time, I'm hoping I get to the ground second. I'm hoping he hits the ground first so I can land on him. Because if not, if I go first and Paul lands on me, we're gonna have to do it over and over and over and over. So it's like, I know you don't want to get me. I got to the point where once my girl rolled over on me and I'm like, get out of me!
That's real PTSD.
Real PTSD.
Well, I mean, I'd like to say I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Because they never gave us crash pads, so I needed you. I needed you to cushion my fall. You're the wind beneath my butt. I want to open a Greek restaurant called the Greatest American Hero. Too soon? All right. All right. Anybody got any questions for us? Because we can keep complaining all
Like, they
night.
had no questions after we start talking about PTSD and corn cobs. So like, yeah, I got questions.
Well, you know, the movie Maze Runner. Oh, forget it.
There's someone way the hell in the back.
It's all you. You can choose them. You can choose them, man.
Just was wondering. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no worries. Just was wondering for. Oh yeah, there we go. For Green with Evil, I forget which episode. There were like 5. At one point, y'all are in the bus, and one of you says, I want my mommy, and I believe it's Skull says, I want your mommy too. Was that ad-libbed?
What's the question?
Was that ad-libbed?
Yeah. And somehow that made it past BS&P, Broadcast Standards and Practices. But then again, so did all the sexual harassment and racism too. I mean, the 90s were a time, and there's things on that show I watch and I'm like, that's terrible. Costumes, not cool sometimes. Honestly, so bad. Yep, there you go.
Right. So, as you were saying earlier, obviously you guys are amazing. Throughout every show that you appear on, you have done multiple costumes and you've been different characters throughout the year. So my question is that, was there any particular costume that you wish that you would have done back when you were doing the show? Like something that you guys didn't do before, or that you wish Bulk and Scully would have done, but you guys never got a chance to do it, even throughout the years?
Yeah. I want to do Bulk and Skull in space. I mean, who wouldn't want to steal a 5X spacesuit that was custom made for you? That's what happened on Samurai. They made that Samurai outfit, and it happened to be my birthday, and I was like, guess what? Mine. And I still have it. I actually wore it to Burning Man one time, and people were like, what are you doing? It's 110 degrees.
A little cultural appropriation in the desert.
Exactly.
Hi, Paul and Jason. I'm a huge Power Ranger fan. I know the history by heart. There are so many things I remember you did. It's hard to figure out what to ask you first. But for now, my question is, since the beginning of Turbo, how was it like when you guys got turned to monkeys by Ogar? Were those real monkeys wearing your clothes, walking, doing the scenes for you, with you voicing them?
No, that was us wearing monkey suits. Which we normally do when we go clubbing on the weekend.
Yeah, but the chimpanzee union wouldn't have it, You're taking bananas out of the mouths of the real chimpanzees.
Okay, so I used to have a sculpture of a chimpanzee on a stack of books. Oh yeah. And the chimpanzee was holding a skull, like Hamlet. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well, heard his show. And we used to laugh, we thought it was so funny. You realize when we were playing monkeys, we were working on the spin-off, but at night, we were doing Hamlet. So one day Paulie looks at that statue and goes, that's not funny anymore.
Chimpanzees are very, very strong animals, right? They can take your arms off and beat you with them, or they can throw a refrigerator. So I told this story a little bit earlier in the hall today, but I'll share it with you again. Now, there are 3 rules that when you work with chimps. One is don't look them in the eye because it's a challenge. The second is don't eat or drink around them, and the other is don't touch their butt because it's kind of a tender area, you know, and they don't like it. So they tell you these rules, and they're like, you know, production's very serious. You have to be careful with these animals. And so I'm like, I'm ready. And then on set, in my blue junior police outfit, I'm drinking a Coke. They walk up behind me and go, "Hey, Paulie!" And I turn around and they throw the animal at me. I catch him. I'm drinking a Coke. I'm holding his butt. I'm looking him in the eye. And I realize I'm dead. And then it kissed me. So they were very, very well trained animals. They were cool. So they didn't hurt us. All right, who else?
I won't speak for the taste of men. Oh, this guy had his hand up.
We got the mic over here. We'll go back.
He don't need that.
So they were talking about doing a Vulcan Skull pilot and show. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was going to be about, what kind of shenanigans you were planning to get into?
It was going to be about 22 minutes. Thank you for your question, sir. Next.
That's how long our careers would have lasted if we had done that. You know, I'm really glad that spinoff didn't happen because we got 5 more years on Rangers after that. If we would have done the Vulcan Skull show, it would have been 1 season and done.
It was such a pastiche of different ideas that never quite congealed.
Well, and they did, you know, the focus group testing where they get people in a room and they ask them, you know, do you like Coke or Pepsi or whatever? Well, they focus group tested with kids the idea of the Vulcan Skull show, and the kids all said, "Where's the robots in Kung Fu?" And I can't argue with that because that's what I said too. I was like, "Where's the robots in Kung Fu?"
So they were doing kind of a Pee-wee's Playhouse type thing, kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean, quite frankly, the Vulcan Skull humor we always thought of it more as kind of like Adult Swim humor before it was an Adult Swim. So it didn't quite translate to kids. Kids were still not coming up to saying, "I love you." They come up to say, "Bam! You ruined my childhood."
In the first season of Rangers, we were abused at grocery stores by young folks. Well, you know, you're 3 or 4 years old. You know, it's like when you meet Dexter, like, let's be out of here.
Right, kids? Right?
So,
Exactly. See what she did? She did this. That's how kids feel about Vulcan Skull.
So the Vulcan Skull show was gonna be Vulcan Skull running a hotel, but like an old New York style hotel where there's residents and not guests per se, and one of them was gonna be Elvez, the Mexican Elvis. I'm serious. Who we met, and he brought the Chihuahua, big old mutton chops.
Chihuahua had mutton chops.
Absolutely, man. And he was mustachioed. I mean, I've never seen a Chihuahua with a mustache that big.
I mean, it really was Faulty Towers with the Mexican Elvis.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And the gag was we're just trying to keep it together, you know, as the place falls apart or whatever. And then Elvez would then sing from the balcony or something. It was very odd.
So we're talking like the sweet life of Zach and Cody, pretty
much. Exactly. Yeah. So it was. They wrote the pilot, and there was a bunch of development art, but we never shot anything. Yeah, which is probably fortunate because we got to keep going on Rangers, you know, which eventually ended up awesome for us as we had all that character growth and got to kick ass for 37 seconds and Countdown to Destruction, and you know.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that, Paulie. That was awesome.
That could have been that Japanese guy in that Piranhatron outfit broke his neck. Look at it! I grabbed him. I'm like, yeah. I was like, can you put the sound effect in? And they were like, that's a little much for the kids show. Whatever. All right, who's next?
All right, so 2 questions. Also, thank y'all for making this weekend awesome.
You guys, it's symbiosis. There's no show without you watching the show. You know, it's the circle life.
I'm not going to lift you up. No, but Kia and Karen did a great job, didn't they? And Mikey, of course. I mean, they themselves into it.
I'm psyched to be here to support my friends, young entrepreneurs.
So 2 questions. Okay, so taking naps in your dressing room. Who was Big Spoon? Also, y'all always performed most of y'all stunts yourselves, and as you said, there was no mat there. Was there ever a time that you got seriously injured, and what did the show do about it?
Shockingly, we never got seriously injured.
I never got hurt.
We never did. And so we had stuntmen once, maybe twice. I don't remember the second one. The first one was literally the Green with Envy, you know, where they introduced Tommy. We get scared and we run and we do a flip into a dumpster. And Ed, who ended up playing Lord, I almost said Lord Ed.
That's what we called him. He was Lord Zed.
Yeah.
But his name was Ed, so we called, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time he was on set. He was your stunt double, and who was mine? It was
Ian.
It was Ian, that's right. It was the first time they worked on set. That was the only time I remember us having stunt guys. It's because we weren't athletic enough to make it over the front of the place.
You know, it was pretty low budget on the show, so generally the lack of stunt people was because they didn't want to spend any money, you know? Do you remember the thing where Bulk goes into like a 50-gallon barrel and like the barrel rolls down a hill?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well that's like 2 2x4s with my boots on it, you know? So they didn't even want to hire anyone. They wouldn't let me do that, but yeah. So after the movie was the beginning, the Power Rangers movie that we shot in Australia, that was the beginning of you're no longer allowed to do anything really dangerous. Like with the skydiving thing, you know, skinny guy in a fat suit, not cool. Get a real fat guy, we can still skydive. But not me. They wouldn't let me do it.
Be the swallow, be the eagle.
Correct, Armando.
I will do none of these things, sir.
That's all right, I'll be the eagle. I'm not gonna, you know.
So I do have a quick question. I've been hearing stories about you two and one other person almost getting fired from Power Rangers.
Which day was this?
Which
time was this?
Because we were late?
We were late. We were on meds. We ran over the producer's daughter. Ran over the producer's daughter again. Ran over the producer.
You know, our attitude really went downhill on the show when we came into work one morning and there were 6 brand new Suzuki Samurais in Skittle colors in the parking lot. And all of the cast was given a car.
And we got just enough to get literally an outfit to go to the party. Yeah, it hurts, doesn't it? Everybody hurts sometimes.
What does give me solace is that there are no Suzuki Samurais anywhere in the world anymore, right? Because it's like an animal cracker box with some wheels on it, and they die very quickly. So, eat that. It's a paperweight. It's Morphin time.
Yeah, so other than that, I don't remember exactly when we almost got fired.
No, well,
actually, okay, all kidding aside, we were on really good terms with the producers because we worked our butts off, and they did appreciate it. I mean, they really did. We gave creative input, we gave our hearts, our souls. We were relatively punctual. We didn't often have prima donna episodes. Often. You know, when push came to shove, we got disciplined once or twice, and we're like, okay, sorry, I was being an a-hole. Believe it or not, we fessed up to when we were being complete jerk-offs.
We got fined a couple times,
yeah,
like a couple grand for outbursts.
Burning things in the halls.
Well, one of the times we got fined was we had a director who was the young, very handsome, dark-haired husband of Priscilla Presley. And for some reason, it was the episode, or it was like a fitting or something for the Elvis costume. Woo! And I'm in the talent hallway, and I look up, and it's Priscilla Presley, and I'm like, God, I gotta go hide in the bathroom! Everybody's like, don't go in the bathroom, that makes it worse! And I started screaming, and basically I got fined for having an outburst in front of Priscilla.
Oh, no, that's not exactly how the Priscilla story went.
All right, tell me.
Do you remember it?
Well, clearly I don't, since you just corrected me.
Okay, so this was the first episode of season 2 with the Road Warrior outfit.
Ah, right.
And she was visiting the set with the kids.
Ah!
And so the assistant director, Larry Litton, who was actually a good friend. So what happened, literally, I'm not kidding you, was in good humor, said, "No, get off my set." And I said, "Larry, go boop, beep, beep." And Priscilla Presley turns around, and there's Paulie. can you believe what Paul Schreier said? I heard him say, and then bring him in, and they're like, Paulie, why did you say this thing to Priscilla Presley? Paulie, we're going to have to discipline you for this. And they're like, and he goes, wasn't me, it was Narvi. They're like, oh, well, that makes sense, okay.
And we both got fined $1,000. Thanks for reminding me that I was wrong.
That's right, anytime we'd have a kid on set, we'd say Priscilla. Because that
was the code, that's right.
That was the code to not say a bad word. Yeah. Priscilla! Oh, okay. Priscilla. But then we did teach all the kids in Australia that one particular bad word is how you say, we said something bad on set and someone forgot to say Priscilla. And the kid's like, I can't believe you said that. We're in Australia filming, right? Yeah. And so like, no, that beep is American for good day. Like, oh, all right. And so like we're walking off the set, they're like, hey, Paul, Jason, beep. And their parents were like,
Go on, man. What's your question, sir?
Well, this may not be something you guys were involved in, but was there any conversation or discussion about making either one of you guys Zeo Gold?
Well, there was like a whiff of a rumor that it was going to be him, but they just took a second look at his face and they were like,
well, yeah. But my gams go all the way. That's also how big my nose was before the nose job. So that wouldn't fit in the actual helmet. Yeah, no, because you don't want to break up Vulcan's skull, right? Yep. So you can't, that wouldn't work. Wouldn't work.
Yeah, they used us to like improve the spirits of the crew. So they would not let us work all day, and they would save us for like 3 o'clock because they knew we would run one and done. One take because we rehearsed all day, and the crew would be like, "Oh, thank God, we can go home."
Yeah, we were on really good terms with the crew, because we spent all day, first of all, talking with them all day, and then at the end of the day, it was great because they always say the hard thing about doing comedy on film is that you don't have an audience. We did, the whole crew, so we would try to break up the crew in whatever it was we were doing, it was great, it was fun.
Well, we knew it was successful if we could make the crew laugh. If the crew was laughing, then we felt good about it.
Yeah. You get some grip who's tired and they've been on the set all day. You can get some guy like that. They're not gonna so much as go, yeah, I'm glad you're not dead. They would never even say that, right? So if you get someone like that to laugh, it's a good day.
We were really lucky. We got to do some amazing comedy bits. Like I watch some of it now, and I'm really, really proud of the body of work. They got real lazy though near the end of the series, and instead of actually thinking about writing something narrative, the script would say, and this is no BS, Bulk and Skull do something funny. It's like, well, that's imaginative. You got paid for that. Good for you. Any other questions, folks?
So, if y'all could, would y'all go and do the Orange and Purple Ranger?
Oh, the new costumes you're talking about.
Yes.
You mean the walking, talking fat joke? I'm a board. They made me a pig, you guys. I'm a pig ranger. And they made Narvi a parrot.
Is that what that was supposed to be?
Which we like to say is a reference to my Semitic good look.
Yeah, good looks. Yeah. It's a fine Semitic tapestry, you. Yeah.
My nose.
No. Hey man, Power Rangers do Power Rangers like the CIA. You think you're out, you're never out. They will pull you back in whenever they want to. So, I'm on good terms with the folks at Hasbro. They can call us anytime.
All right, cool. You guys have been awesome all weekend. I appreciate you guys more than anything, but I think Bulk and Skull have been chased by more monsters than anybody.
Yes.
What is
yes. Those Rangers don't know what the heck.
What is the most
of
all the monsters that have chased you guys? Which one was the most like when you saw the monster? Like, oh, it's gonna be fun running from this guy. Which one made you be like?
I like that Thanksgiving episode, the turkey, Robo Turkey from Hell. I love that. That was very clever. You know, those suits were pre-used by the Japanese show, of course, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, once a year, giant stinky crates would show up. And they would crack those crates. And one time I was close to it, and that was like Japanese stuntman funk. Just like... Then they would fumigate them. Febreze wasn't a thing yet. It was still the 90s, you know?
Sun-in was a thing.
They used... Our Japanese stuntmen, they loved that sun-in.
The funny thing about the costumes is the bugs, as we call them, is that they were a giant, filament. What they do is they have them on basically a stake, standing up until someone used it, and you could step into it, but they zipped in the back. So in order to get air, they would take off the top, and the top of the entire thing would flop over. But then the guy was still standing in it like this. We had a singer like, well, there's something you don't see every day.
And all the stuntmen were smokers, all of them. It's like ridiculous. They're like this amazing martial artist, and they're over there like, yeah.
No human being can kill me except for myself.
Yeah, go ahead, man. One time.
So you talked about the samurai suit that you took for your birthday, and we've all heard the stories that Saban didn't want anything going out, and we've heard stories about Rangers sneaking pieces of costumes out. What's something you got that you really love from this thing?
Oh, I took, well, certainly I wasn't going to take the yogurt-covered leather jackets. Somebody tried to sell me one of my old jackets, and I was like, you bought that? You dumb. That's stinky. No, but I did take a few things. I have a few things. I have the one-eyed Bulk eye patch, and I have the incredible Bulkster 60s kind of orange visor glasses because they were mine in the first place.
I've got one thing.
It still stinks like you here too.
You try to escape out of my trunk, Paulie, I swear. I'll return you. All right, what's next?
Okay, so I'm not sure, sir, if this is true or not, but I've heard for the old Bulk and Skull wardrobes, you two would trade thrift shops.
Yeah. And Army Navy surplus.
Yeah, they would give us money and we would costume ourselves because we would always say, why did you buy that stupid? And then they would send us off to Army Navy and we would buy all the cool stuff.
But I'd like to know, were there any fun finds that while you were doing that?
Well, we do have a side note to that, and that was Skull's t-shirt in the movie. So for the movie, they knew we did that, and they said, we'll do the same thing. And so we did. We went around Hollywood with them, and they're like, but some things we will make, okay, but other things we'll just buy. So there's a shirt that Skull wears, and you only see it in one shot. That is Albert Einstein with the theory of relativity, which we thought was funny because Skull was such an idiot. They didn't get it cleared though, and it cost them 10 grand. Yeah.
Costed more money than we made on the movie. There's a popular myth that you actually make money in show business, by the way.
Most of so much of our stuff came from the former Soviet bloc, the Soviet Union, East Germany and stuff. Like, because the entire Eastern Bloc must go, big blowout sale, all that stuff.
That's true. All right, where's he at? There you are.
Hey, so I just want to say you guys are awesome. So I know that there has been past actors like Rangers that have voiced monsters in other seasons. Have you guys done the same?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, I know you did more Monsters of the Day. We all, at some point, even did putties. It was funny, it was Paulie, me, and Tony Oliver, and I think maybe one other person. And one of us commented, amongst the three of us, we have over 80 years of classically trained theater. Let's do this, gentlemen.
Nothing like putting your education to use. They did that because they were cheap.
Welcome to Venus Island. You guys did dress like putties at the beginning on the beach.
That's right, we were trained putties, baby.
Hi guys.
Hello.
I am Martin Parker's CEO. I'm on episode 16. I totally remember how is your characters acting like the canon scene.
Okay, wait a minute, you're on episode 16 of Zio right now?
Yes.
And what was your question?
It is about the can opener scene.
You know, sometimes we find something funnier than it actually is. And that was a perfect example of that.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, there's so many little, we'll call them microaggressions. Where Paulie and I are just making jokes, trying to get the other one to laugh. It's hilarious. Okay?
To us.
To us. Nobody else. Nobody else.
We wanted to put a B plot into the Power Rangers movie where, because they cut all of the scenes of us working for Ivan News, which is why we were in that one scene selling news or whatever. We're like, well, look, if you're gonna cut us out of the movie, it's fine. I'll just go to the hotel pool again. But we think it would be funny if we found a quarter super glued to the ground, and every time you see us, it's an escalation of us trying to get the quarter off the ground. And you can imagine how that could turn into heavy machinery and explosives. And
For 2 hours, it'd be awesome.
they wouldn't go for it. They were like, no, go back to the pool.
Hi. So, we know that Bulk and Skull had their own heroic moments, right? So what would be your favorite moment that Bulk and Skull were being heroes?
Do you have a favorite one?
7. In episode 7.
Oh, what is?
Well, it's countdown to destruction for me, because it's just, you know, that's the end. That's the ultimate arc for us.
You know what? I did see one the other day. I saw a clip of it. I forget which one it was. It was one of the first times we had a heroic moment. We were trying to find the Power Rangers, and we saw who it was, and we did this whole like Clint Eastwood thing. But our reaction, we found out it was them. Was like, oh, come on! It was hilarious to me watching it the other day. It's like them.
I remember that. They have them like 6 times, and then we lose our memories like every time, right? Narrative.
Yep. Hey, this poor guy's had his hand up for like 7.5 days.
Oh, I thought that was like a rocket pod launcher on a mech suit.
Yeah. You thought he got like a cut and he has to keep it elevated?
It's like low budget Predator costume.
Pew pew. Now, my question is, one of my favorite scenes for Bulk and Skull is food fight when y'all stand up to the pudgy pig.
Oh yeah.
What gave y'all what was the context of that? Did y'all do that yourselves, to stand up to him, or was that written in? Because that was just hilarious to me.
Well, generally the things we say are generally written in the overall circumstance. The things we do in the macro sense is generally our own performance, right? So they don't give you too much direction. So yeah, they set that scene up, but like when I charge Zach in the food fight, and I do the bowl thing with the whipped cream, so that's me, where I'm like, give me the whipped cream.
There's even a moment. Do you remember this? There's a moment. I remember seeing this a long time ago. There's a moment you're like, rah, rah, and he throws and you go, oops. And that was probably total it was a rare thing where he dropped character and looked right at the camera and went, oops, and then he kept going. That made it in.
The thing that I threw bounced off of the light, and someone had to.
Oh yeah, and you thought they were gonna call cut.
Yeah, but he kept going. They were like, no, because they didn't want to clean the whole room.
But for that, I legitimately did grab into some emotional memory recall. When I was in high school, I used to get busted for starting food fights. For the record, you can condition a crowd for just about anything. And if they're used to it, they will react as though it's happening even when it doesn't. So we had started so many food fights, some of them would be like, hey, Jim, hey, food fight! And then after a while, you'd just be like, fry, and then people were like, someone throw fry, and they start throwing it. We were able to start food fights by doing this. They dragged into the principal's office, you're like, oh man, I just stood up.
Jason went to every high school in Southern California. Kicked out time after time.
Well, I was going to say, actually, both of you have been Rangers outside the show, so, in the comics, and I mentioned to you, I'm a big fan of Hyperforce. So I do have a couple of questions about Hyperforce. Like, one was like, how did you get involved? Because it was obviously it was a real treat that we got an actual actor from the show as being part of the team.
Melissa Flores, who was the brand manager for Power Rangers at the end of the Saban era, and then later hopped over to Hasbro for a couple of years and has now gone off on her own and doing amazing things. So Mel gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to do it. And I was like, oh heck yes. Yeah, of course. You have to play a different character. Now, Hyperforce was difficult because it's extemporaneous, we're ad-libbing, right? We're role-playing. You just can't hit the missile button and kill everyone.
But that was part of the fun of it, was that you guys just had free reign to be like,
well, but no, you don't, because it's the Ranger universe and you're a Power Ranger. So your first instinct needs to be to help people. Not my first instinct, which is to like trip him and make something fall down. You know? So it like there was a lot of responsibility, and Mel was always right off camera like this. You know, making sure that we didn't just launch all the missiles at the crowd, you know.
And I was going to ask, like, how far ahead did you get into trying to do season 2? Because I know it kind of fell between the cracks when it got bought by Hasbro, and that was the excuse we were given.
It did. And ultimately, you know, the folks at Hyper Rabbit, that was the kind of venue, the Rabbit folks, they had a lot of other shows going, and that was a licensing deal. So they had to pay Saban. And so with the transfer, of course Hasbro was like, sure, it'll be 4 times more. You know what I mean? So it's like it became something that wasn't like financially tenable. Although in my mind, we totally did it. And I'm the boss.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Yeah, man.
What's happening?
Hello.
How are you? So my question is, when Fox tried to do your spin-off, what happened?
What happened in terms of like why didn't it go?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that a little bit earlier, and that's because they tested it with kids, and the kids were like, where's the robots and the kung fu?
Well, and there was also, I mean, they also were trying to sell the Bulk and Skull, what is it, The Good, the Bad, the Stupid, which was a VHS that came out, and that did not sell very well either.
Because it was a clip show where they just had our little bits, and that didn't make any sense either. When you watched it, there was no context. So,
would y'all ever do one?
Well, we're doing it right now. We live the Bulk and Skull show. There's no crazy like deep Hamlet happening here, right? They wrote those roles right for us. They wrote Bulk for me, and so I actually am an idiot. That's real. Yeah.
Hey, so y'all mentioned earlier that y'all did some ad libs on the show. Like, what was y'all favorite ad lib that y'all did?
Oh man, ad-libbing's difficult because some directors do not take it kindly. They are like to the text. They want you to do the line. Now, occasionally there's a couple like Terry who would let us ad-lib, but it's all the method acting thing. You know that whole thing where people like pull feelings from deep inside. Well, sometimes you don't have any feelings, and your other actors are like waiting for you to feel something. You're like, come on.
And especially with comedy, I mean, you don't want to be digging deep on that.
Totally. So ad-libs, sometimes we're okay, and sometimes we're not okay. It's hard to remember. I mean, I definitely like the, I Want Your Mommy is like pretty
That's
classic.
my favorite.
Because I do.
All right, you guys. The sad thing to say is we are just about out of time, so we got time for one more question. We'll take it right here.
All right, Jason, why?
Why not?
It is meant to be. All right, who's up? Is it you? Is it you?
Because it seems deep.
All right, here we go.
How y'all doing?
Good, man.
I just have to ask, I know next week it's going to be 20 years since that train has passed. I just want to know, what was it like being around her and working with her?
She was the most educated out of any of us. She was a trained engineer before the show, and she was very serious about her craft. She was often directorial,
and would try to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Because she was, she was one of the main cast members, and she had certain expectations, but she's a lovely person.
She was a real sweetheart. She was a sweet, sweet person. There you go. She was as gorgeous on the inside as on the outside. When we did the Universal Studios show, which we did 5 shows in one day. It was supposed to be one show. They turned into 5. And the very first, on her entrance, so it was supposed to be like a 20-minute, hey guys, say no to drugs, sponsored by Dare.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to go once or twice in the day. It sold out, because like most things, Power Rangers, they didn't expect it to be anything. So we ended up doing it 5 times, and instead of in a small 200-person stadium, we did it in a giant 10,000-person amphitheater 5 times a day. She came out for her entrance, and she was supposed to do a flip, and they were setting off fireworks, which was never rehearsed. So as they set it up, it threw her, and she landed on her ankle and busted her ankle. So she did that 4 more times that day, and then shot for the next 6 months with it. And whereas Tui could be very serious, like Paulie said, she could also be very gregarious. And so for the next 5 months, we shamelessly harassed her for walking with a limp. She thought it was funny. We even did back before Photoshop, you had a photocopier and an office, and so we went up to the office and we made a fake newspaper talking about Tui Trang is introducing a brand new dance called the Gimp.
Now, to be fair, we would carry her around on a chair like the Queen of Sheba, too. So, so we messed with her, but we also...
I think we're the only people that could give her that kind of crap, and she would take it. And she loved it. So,
hey, you guys,
she's awesome.
Great to see you all today. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.
Well, that's the last vlog for RangerStop and Pop 2021. I hope you all really liked it. Did you like that Bulk and Skull panel? Yeah, I was just going to record clips like I do with all the other panels, but it was just so funny and well-paced, and they're so charismatic that I was like, wow, I have to record the whole panel. I have to watch this again. Yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic. Can you see my shirtless body in the visor? I'm wearing pajama pants, it's fine. But yeah, the con's over, I'm back home. It was really great. There was a Dragon Ball Z like panel afterwards. After the Bulk and Skull, which was a perfect panel. Loved it. Hope you guys watched the whole thing because it was wonderful. Yeah, there was a Dragon Ball panel after that. I didn't go to it. Kami and Karen did. They were only in like the last 15 minutes of the Bulk and Skull one, but they said they loved it, so I'm glad I recorded the full thing so they can see it. But they were only in the last 15 minutes of Bulk and Skull because they wanted to do some stuff upstairs before we left. And then I didn't want to see the DBZ one. I wasn't even really interested in it, to be completely honest. I like Super, and I haven't really seen Dragon Ball, but GT and Z or whatever to me. Sorry. I did like the My Hero one a lot, though, but they said it was a really, really bad panel. Like one of the worst they've seen, so that makes me happy. I don't want to get into specifics, but because I don't really know them, because I wasn't there. But they said they really didn't like it. Really didn't like it. Oh well. And then we didn't see the last 2 panels of the day or do any other stuff. It was kind of a short day for us at the con. I took a bunch of pictures, but I didn't really do much. I had a headache all day. I have arthritis in my neck, and sometimes if I sleep weird, it gives me like really bad headaches. And since I was staying at their house, they had like these ancient pillows that were hard as a rock, and so I had a headache every day. But it went away Saturday, and I didn't have it Friday because I went by myself and didn't sleep at their place that day. But then Sunday, my head hurt all day. It didn't really stop hurt, because then we went back to their place. Instead of going home, they let me nap at their house because I hadn't slept in like 2 days. I'm one of those people that like has to sleep in their own bed, you know? I can't sleep in other people's beds. I'm so bad at it. Oh well. But it was a really, really great and fantastic con. Met a lot of cosplayers, followed them on Instagram, and I want to do more cool reimagining Power Rangers cosplays in the future. in the future, I definitely want to do more. You know, the Lightning Collection's making helmets and stuff now, and they're affordable for the quality. I'll get more into this specific helmet. That's obviously not a Lightning Collection because they haven't released a Blue Ranger yet, but we'll get more into that when the times come. So that's it. Thank you all very much. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And there will be making of videos for, you know, the blaster and helmet and the rest of the cosplay and stuff, all on Patreon. So definitely be sure to check that out. Also, I said in the first vlog I was going to post stuff on Twitter, but I ended up posting it on Instagram. My Instagram is Godzilla and Gigan, so you can go see most of my pictures from the con, because Kami and Karen don't really like their faces to be online, so the pictures with them in them aren't on there. But anything that's me or anyone else, you know, it's on there. It's all good. So that's it. Thank you all once again for the support. I actually still have a lot of pictures to add, because there's a lot on this camera that I haven't even gone through, and there's still one on my phone I need to add, because it was my digital download for the photo shoot with David Yost, who was just great to me every day. He did something great for me every day I was there. It was wonderful, perfect. I needed that weekend more than anything, and I will treasure this weekend for the rest of my life. Like, that birthday present that Coming Karen got me of those tickets is going to be hard to beat. It's really going to be hard to beat. Wow. I just loved it. And I might, and actually by the time this is up, I might have already even done it. On the main channel, I'm going to do a live stream about the con, so that I can tell everyone about it and maybe cover any little details that were missed, because there are lots of little stories and stuff, just like little interactions with people that I didn't talk about on these, you know? And there's also going to be, like, videos for this on Patreon other than the cosplay, because, like, I'll probably put some isolated clips up on there, and because I did post a clip from the My Hero panel that wasn't included in a vlog. It was kind of just a preview to a vlog, just footage that I didn't use in here. But that's it. Thank you all once again, and I'll see you all next time.